right. We're freaking live. I think so. Hello and welcome to Waking Up, which I've almost literally done like 30 minutes ago. That's fine. Hi, Kagome. How are you, honey? I haven't seen you in a hot minute. I miss you, babe. So I am Arugs, and with me is my co-host, Sean, aka Pep Pep. And I don't know why, because it says your mic is going, but okay.
Oh, does it? Okay.
No,
Let's try this.
It's fine. I fix it. Hung out with Daddy
All right.
yesterday. I tired, but oh, that's good, Kagome. Awesome. So here on Waking Up, we are here to talk about our just our trauma in general, and we are not licensed professionals. We are not therapists. We are not counselors. Anything that is said on this podcast are our opinions and our own personal experiences. If you do need professional help, you can contact me at NerdMomAce on all of the social medias, and we can certainly help you get in touch with the resources and people that are licensed and to help you. Sean and I grew up in the Carolinas, which happens to be Billy Graham territory, which is also basically we grew up Southern Baptist, which is a strict evangelical denomination of the Christian faith. So yeah, that is pretty much it. We are not here to bash anybody's religious faith or their beliefs. We think that those things are beautiful, but they must be done in a mentally and emotionally healthy manner, and they must be able to help you grow and not deter you. So, I actually chose the topic today, so Pep doesn't really have any idea. The forever fallacy. So here, we are talking about the forever fallacy, which is something that I've been thinking about is, everything that we do means that our decision is going to change our lives forever. Every person we date, every friend that we have, every choice that we make, and it stops us from actually dating to date, not dating to get married. And it stops us from leaving situations and people and places and things, because everything that we do, we were taught that everything that we do, every choice that we made was forever. And that was going to be it. And that was it. And it causes unhealthy attachments. It causes unhealthy choice and decision making. And it causes us anxious styles of decision making and just how we live our lives. Everything is fucking forever. Everything is forever. Every person in our life is forever. And when that person isn't in our life anymore, or that job, or that situation, or that place where we live, we move on, our kids grow up, whatever, it's devastating. It devastates us to the point of, oh, I thought that they were going to be in it, because you never contemplated that person would not be in your life, or that person, or that job, you might not be in that job 5 years from now. Like, you never think about that, because growing up, we were taught in the church that everything was forever. Make sure you don't date until you date for marriage. I was never taught how to date just to date. Like, that's ridiculous. To think that you're going to date one person and marry that person and be happy with that person for the rest of your life is unrealistic. To be friends, now it's a rare occasion where you're friends with somebody forever, like from childhood all the way on. It's very rare. So if you have that person in your life, thank your lucky stars, because you guys grow. And I am so tired of living my life thinking I chose this person or this job or this place that I'm at right now, thinking I have to live with that for fucking ever, and I just have to sit in it. And I'm just tired of that shit, because it got hammered home a lot. Choose to love God, because it's going to affect your afterlife. I'm like, I can't even live my life and die and live my life the way I want to. What the fuck? Like, I can't even change my mind after that. Once you accept Jesus in your heart, that's like, what? Like, I'm so sick of that shit.
That's that's that right. The last one is a common fallacy for when you're deconstructing. Is Christians will tell you, well, if you're deconstructing, you must never have been saved. But yeah, everything we did was for long term. It was so easy to get paralyzed when we thought that way. When we thought if I make this choice, it's going to change the course of my life, and it's going to be forever, and I'm always going to have to. If we approached every decision that way, I approached so many decisions.
You still approach decisions that way.
Yes, you're right. I do.
So why are you talking in the past tense? Because you still approach all of your decisions that way, and still do. So present. Let's talk. We're gonna be honest with our if we're going to have this type of podcast, let's be honest. Because I still do that. So let's not sit here and lie to our community about how we used to, and it's not something. No, that is something fucking we absolutely do.
We can used to, and we can still do. Yes. So we'll talk. Let's talk in the present. I'll talk in the present. So yes, I still have that. I'm dealing with that with my tattoo, even though it is kind of long term. It doesn't necessarily have to be. Every decision is a major one. Every decision, decisions I make can affect where I go, but I don't know. I don't know what the future is going to have. I don't know what's going to happen. So all I can do is just make the best decision I know how to make right now, and then I can and then change it later. I can't know what the future is. And what I end up doing is I'm so paralyzed by that idea of this decision is going to have a major repercussion. This decision is forever, that I end up not making a decision, which is still a decision. And I end up not making a clear decision. And then I end up years later still in the same situation that I was, or in a worse situation because I didn't make the decision.
Or you feel like you make a decision, and I'm saying you, like I do the same thing. Like you make a decision, and you feel like you can't change your mind. Like you feel like you can't change your mind. Oh, I'm dating this person, or I married this person, or I'm best friends with this person. And you feel like you have to put up with everything that they are doing. Because that's just...
You made the choice.
You made the choice. You have to live with that. You have to see it out. Like, deal
with it. Yeah.
I made that choice, so I can't make another one. And it's going to be forever. You can't change your mind, or you don't even want to entertain the possibility like that. Maybe I should change my mind, or like I got my first tattoo. Speaking of tattoos, like I got my first tattoo on my ankle. And it was nice. And at the time, I really liked it. And it was more of a symbolic thing. I was proud of it. I was like, look at me. I finally decided. I finally did. And then after time, 6 months, 6 months to a year, I was looking at it and going, no, I don't. I mean, yeah, I like the tattoo and I like the placement, or I like where it's at, but I don't like it anymore. It doesn't look good. It faded out. Like...
Yeah.
It was good at the time. It doesn't match my other one that I got, and it just doesn't fit with who I am anymore. So what did I do? I was like, fuck it. Like, I can get it covered up. It's not that big a deal. Like, just because the tattoo is permanent doesn't mean I can't change it. And I did.
Yeah.
And it's fine. And I love the one I have right now. Like, but I didn't have to live with the one that I looked at my ankle and go, forever. I didn't have to do that.
Yeah. When I was contemplating getting my first tattoo, when I was growing up, my parents approached tattoos as harming God's temple. Don't mess with God's temple. So I wasn't allowed to get a tattoo. So when I got it, it was my act of rebellion in my early 20s. But they was like, you're always gonna have it. You're always gonna have it. It's permanent. It's forever. You're never, That's why you shouldn't get a tattoo, is because how do you know you're gonna like it when you're 40, 50, 60? Well, I've had the tattoo for longer than I've not had the tattoo, and I've gotten to the point where I'm like, you know what? I do want to change it. I'm not as happy. It was, like I said, it was kind of a rebellion tattoo, so I wanted to get covered up, but found out that that's not gonna happen. So I was like, okay, well, I'm gonna get it lasered off. It's not 100% permanent. It's not I make one decision and I'm stuck with it for the rest of my life. I'm stuck with it until I decide to change it, so I can get rid of it. but it was presented to me as such a it's one or zero. It was always it's the black and white situation we talk about all the time. There is no gray area. You get it, you don't get it. Oh, and if you get it, you're a bad person. No. So it's not forever.
Paragon says, so what fallacies have you found to be totally untrue, and what ones feel like you guys are more accurate with you guys? The dating one. Yes. The dating one.
Dating and marriage one.
Just because you love the person doesn't mean you're compatible. Just because you have feelings toward the person doesn't mean that, like, and I think a lot, for me, I know personally, it has caused a lot of unhealthy attachment because I was taught in that mindset that if you fall in love with the person, that person makes you feel good, that person must love you. That doesn't necessarily mean that that person loves you back. And that doesn't mean that that person is also, reciprocating the same feelings. And it's one of those that doesn't mean that the person is compatible for you. And you wrap your entire life around this one person, and it's just like, oh, well, because I love them and because I care about them means that I'm just going to put everything I am into it and just take it because that's the way it is, because because in the Christian faith, you don't date to date. You don't date to just, hang out with each other or, I like this person, but
learn
what
you like and what you don't like.
Just hang out, just enjoy somebody's company, not necessarily like and under the standing that, and you don't communicate that either. But the fallacy of every person that makes you feel good and makes you feel happy and you have a crush on is your person. Yes. It's not your fucking person. And even if you fall in love with them and they fall in love with you, doesn't mean that they're still your person. It just means that at that moment that you're in a place that you want to love each other and be with each other. But that doesn't mean that in time that it's going to be forever.
Yep. Yeah, none of it is. The fallacy that I fell into is the idea that sex equals love. So if the person was willing to have sex with me, that must mean they love me. And that was the first time in the relationship, but that I was also at any point. If we were not doing well, if the relationship was not doing well, but they were still willing to have sex with me, then that means the relationship must be okay. And that they still love me. That was a fallacy that I've had a hard time breaking over the years, is equating the two of those. That's just because someone wants to have sex with you doesn't mean they love you. And just because I want to have sex with somebody else doesn't mean I love them. That was a tough fallacy for me.
And which ones do you feel are more accurate with you guys? What do you mean more accurate? Like,
the point of a fallacy is that it's not accurate.
Yeah, it's one of those. Everything is permanent. Every decision that we make is permanent. We can't change our minds. That and you agonize over. I think for me, I learned how to agonize because it's like you were taught as a Christian that it was forever. Everything was a permanent thing. Everything was permanent. People in your life were permanent. Jobs in your life were permanent. Your faith was permanent. And the choices that you made, the mistakes that you made would last forever, even into after you were dead. So it was one of those, it trained and taught me that I can't make a choice and go, fuck it. You know what? We'll try it. I'm not going to just try something. I'm not going to just go out on a date with somebody I'm they're not my type really, but why not? Well, yeah, it might surprise me. At least I'm going to have a good time. Like, whatever. Yeah. No, in my head, if they're asking me out on a date, you have to be like, oh, they want a relationship with me. And that's not okay.
It's almost an assumed relationship. We went out on a date, so now we're exclusive, we're dating. Going out on a date equals dating.
Which turned out not to be fallacies. There isn't a lot. It turned out to be a fallacy, to be real honest.
A lot of the stuff that we were taught was fallacies.
Yeah, it was all a lie. It was all not real.
Here's a verse. Here's a verse for you. Store up treasures in heaven. That was the one thrown around. You familiar with that verse? That was the one that everything that you do, if it's what God wants you to do, you're storing up treasures. The idea is that everything you do here is depositing into your afterlife. So if you don't do good things here, so even if you're a Christian, if you go to heaven, if you haven't been storing up treasures, if you haven't been doing those good things, those permanent things, that even though yes, you're in heaven, you're not really like rich in heaven. There was a class distinction in heaven that you could have more treasures or less treasures than someone else in heaven. Okay. Yeah. So everything you do now affects your afterlife, and not just being a Christian, but what you do as being a Christian affects your afterlife. The quality of your afterlife.
I mean, that one wasn't really hammered home. It was very,
yeah.
It was very much everything you do now affects your future, and that in and of itself, I guess to answer Paragons, that itself is true. Is that every choice you make does affect your future, but it doesn't mean it has to affect. It doesn't mean that you can't make more choices to change the outcomes. I'm choosing to date this person, and I date this person, and we're here. And I'm using dating because that's the easiest. That's the easiest one that I can think of, because that's one for me and my attachment styles, and I'm working on is my relationships with people. And I choose to date this person, or I choose to become friends with this person. And I think, well, we made this choice. We're in it now, and that's it. And I never question or really sit down and go, are they right for me? Is this what I want? Is this who I want to be in my life? Is this because, and that has kept a lot of toxic people in my life. And I kept me in relationships and situations that I shouldn't be in. And yes, does that affect me? Yes, it does affect the rest of my life, because the longer I stay in those decisions and the longer I'm with that person, I learn things about myself, and I learn things about what I do want and what I don't want. Yes, that does change the course of your life, but that doesn't mean I have to stay in that course. That doesn't mean I can't just go, you know what? No. You know what? We're done. Or we don't need to be friends anymore. But we were made to believe that is just, we can't do that. We can't do that, especially if they're not hurting us, if they're not being abusive, if they're not being mean, if they're not being super toxic. You just don't like them. You just don't, you're not feeling it. Or a job. You're in a job and you're like, oh, it's nice enough. It pays the bills, but I'm not happy.
Yeah.
But, I've been here for 2 or 3 years and they pay the bills, and I know what it is. Yeah. So why would I bother leaving? Because you're miserable and unhappy and you don't like the job. But of course, yeah, it pays the bills, but why not go look for something else? It doesn't have to be forever. Nothing is permanent except for death. That's the only thing that is really permanent in life. I choose to get better and improve and not stay in my forever choices, right? See, yes, and that's the thing, is that we get paralyzed, especially the older you get and the more in this mindset you get paralyzed. You don't want to make a choice because you're terrified that the choice that you make is going to be, you're going to have to sit with it forever. And it's going to have these dire consequences. And instead you're just like, what's the worst that can happen? I go out on a date with this person and I have a meal and I end up not liking them.
Yeah.
Or I like them and we ended up, maybe we go out on a couple dates and then I just realized that, hey, they have different values than I do. And okay, so I go find someone else, or this friend, hey, I met this person and they're really nice and we have a lot in common, but
I get stuck in the I don't. I have to have I have to have a defensible position, a defensible opinion. When I make a decision to do or not do something, I have to have a defensible argument for why I am doing that or not doing that. What, as opposed to just, you know what, I'm not feeling it. Like going out on a date. Yeah, I'm not really feeling it. Like no, that's not good enough. I gotta have a defensible reason, or like one I could prove in court as to why I don't want to do something. Otherwise, I find myself just stuck in that and not getting out of it, and so it just keeps going. I was married for way too long because divorce was not an option. It was because I grew up believing that marriage was forever. That's why I believe marriage licenses should have an expiration date.
So that you don't have to make that choice for yourself?
No. The decision still has to be made. The decision still has to be made.
Does it? Does it?
Yes.
Does it? No, because if there's an expiration date and you just let it expire, then you're just no longer married, and then that choice doesn't have to be made for you. It's just, we just let the expiration date. So, I mean, yes, I agree that there should be renewal dates. Like, hey, by this point, do you still want to renew? But no, you're like expiration date. Let's just like expire. So, you know what? I don't have to make that choice. I can just go, we're expired, and I don't have to renew if I don't want to. Like, that's sort of making the choice for you and not you making the choice for yourself. That is you sitting here going, oh, well, there is something forever, but I don't have to make it forever. I can just wait it out.
I kind of did that for a while. It didn't change. Because I didn't make it, because I didn't choose to make the decision, or because I chose not to make a decision.
Hi, Calvino.
Hi, Calvino.
Some people have had near-death experience, and I love you, freaking Kagome. Kagome, I fucking love you. That is very true.
The good ones. Yeah.
It's one of those, like, everything is forever. Nothing is forever.
We grew up in the time period where jobs were supposed to be forever. The idea, our parents, because our parents grew up in it, and then they passed it on to us. At least they passed it on to me. Is that you go to college, you get a good job, and then you're set for life. Like that was the process. And so you just got to you just got to hit those points, and then you're good to go. And that doesn't fit our world. That fit our parents' world, but that didn't fit our world. The idea of you just got to find a good job and then you're set for life. It's forever. You just stay in that job. It doesn't work anymore. It doesn't work at all. But I'm still in that mindset because I tend to stay in jobs for too long because I'm like, well, it's fine. I mean, I'm not happy, but like you said earlier, it pays bills. So it's hard to get it's hard for me to get out of that mindset and to make the choice to do something different.
Tell me the truth. I need a truth. So, do you ever actually sit down and evaluate where you are in your life, and if where you are and the people that are in your life, are they compatible for you, and are you in the right situation for yourself?
No, I've never sat down. I've never paused and had that.
Why not?
In my head. Because I didn't know that was a thing. I mean, I've had individual thoughts like, is this person someone I want to continue to have in my life? But not holistically. No, I haven't had that.
Why not?
Because I haven't thought about it. Because it's not something that I've considered was a thing.
Why would you consider it being a thing?
Because I don't know what I don't know. Because that's something that's crossed my mind holistically to do that. Why would it have crossed my mind?
Why would it?
Yeah.
Because it's called self-inquiry.
Yeah, but
that's part of
inquiry.
That's part of the, okay. Like, that's part of the whole, like, okay, I'm going to, especially when you're, okay, Here, my friends, here's something. When you are
Uh-huh.
in mental health healing, when you are in this journey of like working on yourself and working on fixing and healing parts of your life, you can't think like you can, like in portion, you can't necessarily compartmentalize your healing. You can't, because everything makes you as a whole. So for me, okay, I realized that I started out wanting to, first off, fixing my, like, coming to the realization that I had a mental illness. Okay, so where did that come from?
Mhm.
Why did it come from there? And so it started to spider out into a lot of different little things. And I say, okay, there's a whole bunch of different little things, and I'm going to concentrate on, like, let's one by one, because I can't take everything as a whole. I can't just, it's one little thing at a time. But every now and then you have to think, okay, so I've healed this part. How has that affected how I approach everything else? How is, like, I am working on my trauma with my childhood, my abandonment, my emotional and mental neglect and abuse as a child and as an adult, and how has working on healing that part affected my relationships and how I view my relationships with other people, and how has that healed my work environment? How has that changed everything else? Because it does, it affects everything as a whole. Because if you think you're healing one part and it doesn't affect another part, then you're not thinking. You have to think holistically, because you're not just one part. You're a whole of several parts, which is
Mhm.
why IFS is a thing. Maybe this was from people, places, and things that don't align with their goals.
Mhm.
But I push over and want to have people in my life, so I take more than I should. It could go, maybe me too. Baby, me too. Absolutely. And that's why I am like, that's where I'm sort of like in that part right now. If you guys can't tell, is evaluating, like, how much should I take? Like, how much a part of is me being a good person versus my abandonment wound, and me
Mm.
sticking my finger in that
Yeah.
abandonment wound and going "Brrr," and really just going, let's see how much I can take because I love that person and I'm a
Yeah.
good person. When the reality is, I need to sit there and go, I'm lying to myself. That person doesn't have to be forever.
Mhm.
And that's okay. That's okay. And it's okay for it
Well,
not to be forever. And it's
yeah.
like to tell
Oh, that's
yourself that that's
yeah.
okay for that person to mean something very deeply to you 1 minute, and then 6 months
Mhm.
down the road not mean hardly anything, is a very hard concept for somebody with abandonment wounds. And
Mhm.
you're sitting here and you're going, no, I can't do that. My life is so wrapped up in them. And yes, you can. And that's the lie I keep telling myself. I can't. Yes, you can.
That's tough. That's yeah. Um, the idea of the idea of I think I don't have a lot of people in my life, honestly, that at least I don't see it that way. I don't see having a lot of people in my life. Um, so I think if I stop and look at like who is in my life and like take stock of who's there, and do I need to like call anybody, push anybody away, put more distance. Like I haven't thought about that as a whole. Sounds like I probably should. Like I guess I just I don't approach I don't approach my healing in the same way. I don't
Because you
like.
don't deal with your problems in the same way. You compartmentalize your emotions, you compartmentalize your problems, and you think, oh, okay, I'm going to put that in that box, and I'm going to separate that from this box, and I'm going to put them in their little boxes, and I'm going to just deal with them when I feel like it. So you don't
uh,
approach your healing, and you approach your healing the same way. I put it in the box separately, so I'm going to take it out and deal with it separately.
yeah, I mean, I deal with the relationships. I think individually when they come up. Like I deal with work. That's work is a big one. I've had to work on deal with. So I think I think I say okay, I examine the relationship on a one-to-one basis as opposed to everything connecting.
So you're
I think
reactive,
that's
not proactive.
not necessarily.
But you just said, but the reason I'm asking is you just said that you only deal with it when they come up.
Okay, in that case, yeah, it would be reactive.
Okay, Kagome says 3 people in 1 week wanted to help move. 1 person did not talk to me in months, slowly removing themselves from my life and ignores me. 3rd person actually wants to spend time with me. I've been there, boo-boo. Like, and it sucks. That's hard to try to, like, when people start moving, making choices for themselves, it's whatever it is, for whatever reason, and you're having to, like, adjust, and then that's hard, and that's difficult. But then it, like, at the same time, it's just like, I'm gonna let it hurt, because it does hurt when people, like, you, especially for me, when I think everything's forever, like, we're friends and we're gonna be friends forever, and, you know, we're gonna spend all our time together, or what, or dating, or we're in a, whatever, we're married, etc. Like, I'm gonna be here forever. You don't contemplate. You never want to contemplate the fact that they want to remove themselves from you, or that your life is you're going to live your life without them, because you think that they're going to be there as a permanent fixture. Mm-hmm. And it's hard. That's hard.
It's possible to also take. When you were saying that, it made me think of, you can also take your relationships for granted. So whereas you kind of neglect the relationship, assuming they're always going to be there, assuming that person is just going to. You don't foster that relationship. You don't invest in it, and because you just assume they're going to be there, and then until suddenly they aren't there, and then you're like, well, what happened? I mean, you happened. You neglected it, and they didn't sit around and wait for you.
Right.
Yeah.
Paragon says, I think what's scary is the amount of time spent telling yourself you can't do it, and then finding out just how easy it is. Men. Amen. Amen. Coming right for Sean.
I spend more of my life saying I can't do something. I spend most of my time, most of my mental space here saying I can't do that. Or if I do that, here's all the negative stuff that's going to happen. Here's all the terrible things. Here's how I'm going to fail. Boom goes the dynamite. Yeah. Thanks, Barry. I appreciate that. Great. Of all the things that's either I can't do it, or I'm going to be terrible at it, or I'm going to fail at it. All the negative overthinker right here. That's all the stuff that happens in my head. Instead of just in our conversations when I've told you, like, I want to do this thing, or I'm thinking about doing this thing, whatever, I can't do this thing, and you're like, I don't know how to do it. How do I do that? How do I do that? Just do it. What? Just do it. The number of times you've told me you just got to do the thing, which is also.
Yeah, but it's also very much like I get to the point where it's just like, you know exactly what to do. You just want me to tell you how to do it. You know exactly what to do. You just want to give you permission that it's okay for you to do it.
Or I overcomplicate it. It's not that simple. I can't just. I overcomplicate it. I'm like, it can't be that simple. It can't be as simple as doing the thing. Thanks, Amina. Anybody that wants to.
Yeah, it's one of those. I often think, what's like the worst case scenario? Like, I'm going to make this choice and I'm going to suffer bad consequences if it isn't the right thing. And I think that if I suffer the bad consequences, this could all go wrong and my life could be shit and I could be doing the wrong thing and all of this. I could be making this massive, huge mistake and I'm never going to recover from it. Or, like, instead of thinking, why not? Like, it could be the worst thing that has ever happened to me, or it could be the best thing that ever happened to me, or at the same time, it could just be something I learned from. It's not even bad or good. It just is something that I experience. And you know what? Hey, I'll learn for next time. Why the fuck not? Like, we approach everything like, oh, We approach everything like it's a fucking tattoo. Like they told us in church. Everything is fucking permanent. So don't do it because you're going to regret it. Don't do the thing because you're going to regret it.
You're going to regret it. Yeah. But even if we regret it, even if I regretted my tattoo, it still doesn't make it permanent. Still doesn't mean I can't change it. Regret it. I think I work so hard not to deal with regret, not to experience regret, not to allow myself to feel that uncomfortable emotion, that I don't make the choice because I'm afraid I'm going to end up experiencing that. So my choice is not to make the choice. And it doesn't make it any better. It just changes what the result is. There's still uncomfortable emotions. Just because I don't experience regret. But I'm also anticipating the regret. See, the thing is, regret isn't a guaranteed. Regret is just a possibility. But that idea, that possibility of dealing with an uncomfortable emotion like regret is enough to paralyze me. And enough to make me not make the choice, not to do the thing. And that is not a life I want to look back and think about. All of the many things that I wanted to do, should have done, and didn't do.
Yeah.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Do you regret it?
Yeah. Do I regret what?
Do you regret looking back on your life and the choices that you made, and do you regret not making the choices?
Yeah.
So you still feel fucking regret.
Yeah, that's a good point. Yeah, you're right.
So your need to like, okay, well, I don't want to deal with like regret. I don't want to deal with disappointment. The possibility because it could be forever. And let me tell you something. No fucking emotion is fucking forever. I'm going to tell you that right now. Here is something that is a belief that I have lived with and that I'm trying to unlearn and disprove and totally deconstruct in my head, is that this feeling is going to last forever. And it doesn't. It does not last forever. The sadness, the regret, the disappointment, the whatever, it does not last forever. And on the flip side, the happiness, the euphoria, the joy, none of that lasts forever too. It doesn't last forever. You have to continue to foster those feelings. If they continue forever, those are feelings that you foster. Those aren't feelings that just naturally occur.
I was getting ready to say that. If those things are lasting a long period of time, you are actively making them do that. What? Are you talking about Paragon?
Coming straight for Sean. Coming straight for Sean.
I'm reading this.
And don't forget, when you get to that point where you don't make a choice because of fear of permanency, that's just passing the buck. If I don't make this choice, then I don't have to take responsibility when this blows up.
All right, where's the ban button? I'm muting Paragon for a minute here.
Paragon, come straight for Sean. Straight for Sean.
Paragon. Oh. Ooh, is it getting hot in here?
Do you feel the fires of hell burning you?
Dude, lapping at my feet.
Oh, look, it's emotional. It's emotional support bag. He's like...
It's so warm. No, Paragon has a point. I can avoid taking accountability, taking responsibility. Making a choice is still, or not making a choice is still making a choice. But it has allowed me to not take responsibility.
They're coming straight at you.
They are. Oh my God. Woo. No, yeah, Calvin. Just because he comes from me doesn't mean you can't come from me. Just saying.
But you got to choose first.
Yeah, they can do it at the same time. They can do it at the same time.
Oh, so that's you not making a choice, and she's just making sure that somebody else. Okay, cool. Just proving my point.
Just
okay,
demonstrating.
Just demonstrating.
Just demonstrating how that works.
Am I shooting at Sean with her, or just expressing my own feelings? Oh, it's both. It is both. Like it's very much. That's where Sean and I very much differ.
Yes.
In that aspect is I was the scapegoat. And we've all known this, and we've all I've discussed this, that I was a scapegoat in my family. Everything was my fault. Everything was my fault. Everything was a bad consequence. So when I am sitting here trying and I'm wrestling over a decision, it's because I am afraid of getting hurt. I'm afraid of it blowing up for me and not me hurting other people. But I will make that choice because I've just already been assumed that I'm responsible for it anyway. If something goes wrong, I'm instantly, even if it's not my fault, I will instantly take responsibility for it because I fucked up. It's my fault. I did this. And I go down that spiral. Where Sean he doesn't want to take that responsibility because he is the golden child.
I'm the golden child. So anything that golden and perfection is only as good as the ability to maintain that. Like perfection is great as long as nothing. But perfection is infallible. Perfection is if there's any flaw, if there's any mistake, if there's any nick or ding, it's no longer perfect. So as a golden child, I end up spending most of my time trying to maintain the idea of perfection. Well, the way to avoid getting nicks and dings and whatnot is to avoid doing anything. Pretty much sitting there. It's the any choices that I make that could, if I'm not good at something, if it's going to make me look bad, if I just don't do that, if I just don't do the thing, then it's fine. Then I don't have there's no chance of getting having any problems.
Unrealistic. Just ask why my cat was turned inside out. Because she's hairless.
She's the naked potato cat.
I'm an evil villain. Of course I have to have a naked cat so I can just stroke her maniacally.
But right now we can't see the cat, so all we see is you doing this.
Ew. I know. It's a love-hate relationship. Some people love her, some people hate her, but she's got attitude for days, so it's fine.
She looks happy now. She's in your lap. She got the attention.
She swung over the bar on the swings. Yeah, it's. I sit here and I think, and that also affects our leadership skills and how we approach our relationships with other people. Because when you think of every choice that you make as it's permanent and you're constantly thinking, if I make the wrong choice, it's going to change the course of my life forever. And it's going to change the course of somebody else's life. And I don't want that. I don't want to be responsible for that. But
if I make the...
But that is also us taking responsibility for other people and their choices. And we're over here thinking our choice has to be their choice. And that's not... We can make our choices for ourselves. And yes, will it affect other people? Absolutely. But we can't...
From helpinghandshomecare.co.uk. We all make choices.
Don't you like when Alexia starts talking?
What the hell? What the hell? Knock it up. What? Ah! She's possessed. And her screen is blank. Okay, that's cool.
Whoa. Uh-oh.
All right, we're going to mute you, ho.
So I'm thinking about decisions made when I was young. Like, the decision of which college to go to. There are decisions that can have. Cat looks. Jesus. Wow. Me.
Unreal Lips, thank you. That is like the best ever. I mean.
She's like Aunt Patty from The Simpsons.
Anyway, go ahead.
There are decisions that do have a significant impact on the direction of your life. Anyway, when you're trying to decide what college to go to. That's going from one school to a different. That can have a big impact on your life. The difference is whatever you pick, one doesn't make one right and one wrong. Something doesn't make one right and one wrong as long as you're making the decision for you. Your life is going to be different, but you don't know what's going to happen. You can't look back and go, well, I should have gone to this school. You don't know because you don't know what's going to happen.
But even that's not permanent, Sean, because you can change schools. If you go for one semester and go, this isn't for me, then you can change schools. You can go for a couple years and go, you know what? College isn't for me. You can stop. See, that is us thinking, oh, it's a major decision. Yes, it's a major decision. It's a major decision that you can still change your mind later. But we have that mindset of this is a major decision. Even a major decision doesn't mean that it is fucking forever. Doesn't mean that it is permanent. Doesn't mean that we have to stick it out, because I did that. I went to school to be a band director, and I 3 years in going, I really am not feeling this, but I'm already 3 years in. I can't change my mind now. I absolutely fucking could. But I told myself, no, I couldn't. I'm too far in. But yeah, I may have been too far in. And yeah, would it be a little bit more difficult for me to make a different decision? Yes. Would I have to work harder? Absolutely. But that doesn't mean that I couldn't have changed my mind. That doesn't mean that it was permanent. And that's the thing, is that we can make the choices, whether it be to marry somebody. Yes. I mean, we can date somebody and then be like, well, do I really want to marry them or not? I really love them. But that's one of those things.
It's only permanent if we make it permanent.
Right.
We choose to make it permanent.
Yes, the trick is be the fact that whatever the result is, I'm good.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Make a choice, and then you accept it. You accept the choice.
Right.
And then you decide what you want to, and then you make another choice. Yeah, and that's where once I made a choice. Once I make a choice, I can't make another choice. I can't decide, no, I don't want to do that. If I make a choice and I can't make the wrong choice. I don't want to make the wrong choice, because the wrong choice means I'm not perfect. The wrong choice affects being golden. I can't just admit, oh, well, I made a choice based on what I knew, and I'm going to make a different choice now. No, I had to make a choice, and then I had to just make the best of it, instead of making a separate choice, instead of a different choice and going a different direction. And I think this ties in directly to the sunk cost fallacy that we've talked about before. Well, I've been here. I've done this for so long. Especially, that happens. It's easy to happen.
Why don't you explain the sunk cost fallacy to people who may not know what that is?
Gotcha. So the sunk cost fallacy is the idea that you have to continue doing something because you have already spent so much, whether it's time, effort, money. I've spent X amount of money, therefore I have to continue doing it. If I don't, then it's all a waste. I'm in this relationship, and I've invested so many years in this relationship. I just should keep going. It's better if I just stay in this relationship because I've already been in there for so long. It's staying where you're at because you've already invested time, energy, money, whatever.
Mm-hmm.
And we get caught in that all the time. Well, I've already done this. I've already spent this time. I've already spent this money. It happens a lot with money. I think what we call throwing good money at bad money. I've already spent all this money. I might as well just keep doing it. And so, yeah.
I think for me, it's one of those. And I think it's because I am healing and I am dealing with a lot of things that I have done for the past so many decades, right? I have done that. Those are just permanent things. And there are some things that will always be with me. I can't just oh, I just don't have BPD anymore. It's fine. I'm healed. That's not ever going to go away. It's not. But how I approach it is different. So it's the choices that I make on the things that are permanent in my life and how I handle them and how I deal with them, that can be changed. So even then, just because I have this thing doesn't mean that I will have to deal with it the same way forever. I can make different choices, and I can learn how to handle it differently, which then means the effects of the thing of the BPD will be different. The results of it will be different. So it won't always be this way. Always and never. Always, never, and forever.
Yeah.
All those motherfucking absolute words that we like to throw around. And
Get rid of
especially if you're traumatized, especially if you are dealing with a whole, especially if you are a fucking people pleaser. Like, you know, it's one of those things.
Yes.
Always, never, and forever. Those are things that you just are constantly in your head. And having to understand that that's not true. Those things aren't true.
Yeah.
Nothing is forever. A person isn't always that way. Are they often that way? Sometimes.
Yeah.
Are they seldom that way? Sometimes.
Mhm.
But it doesn't mean they're always that way.
Yeah. Yeah. And those always and never, that tends to evoke a different reaction, a different response, a different thought.
Hate those always and never words. Tell me you have been have been mentally and emotionally manipulated without telling me you've been emotionally and mentally manipulated.
Right.
Ask somebody how they
Yes.
feel about the words always and never and forever. Ask them. And most of the time, you can tell somebody who's been manipulated, neglected, or abused in some way, shape, or form. You say you are always that way, and
Always
watch
this way.
watch them. Or you never do this for me.
Never do this.
Watch their
Yes.
reaction. Watch how they react to that. Because I can tell you 100% that somebody who has had that on the receiving end, they will sit here and that will trigger them in a way. It is a visceral triggering way. And it's those who are on the flip side who use that a lot will be like, then they will get argumentative. They will then be like, they will turn it around on you. Just watch how people react to those words.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm one of those. You tell me I always do this. My first thought is all of the times that I haven't done that. We're no longer discussing what the original topic was. We're now discussing whether or not I have ever done or not done the thing that you just said. But you say, hey, I notice that you often do this thing. Oh, okay, yeah. Because then the idea is, yeah, you're right. Sometimes I do. It's a completely different conversation. When often and seldom are used versus when never and always are used.
The amount of ladies I've heard tell myself and other guys, I'll be yours always and forever. And me just sitting there like,
Yeah. That's true. Well, I'll be yours most of the time for a good while. It doesn't quite come off the same romantically. But yeah, you're right.
or even it feels like you always is one. Absolutely. I have to use that. Yeah.
Yeah.
I just, I will love you forever.
No, not necessarily.
There are times where I don't love people. I love them deeply. There's times where I'm like, I might not love you forever. Like, that's a possibility.
Yeah.
There is a difference between I will love you forever and I love you unconditionally.
Ooh.
Because unconditionally means that you love them regardless of how they show up, if they make mistakes or whatever, but that doesn't mean that it's permanent. It means it's a choice.
I think love is a choice anyway.
Well, love is absolutely a choice.
Yeah.
But saying I will love you forever, I will love you always is a fallacy. It's a lie because you can't necessarily always do something. And how do you know you will love them forever? Because you can't predict the future.
You can't. Yeah. You don't know. That's how we should respond from now on. Whenever someone says that, only Cynthia absolutes. Yeah. Those can put us. We can put ourselves in a trap. We can walk ourselves into a corner with using absolutes like that, because then the other person goes, well, I thought you said you said this. I thought you said that. And we can actually hand some people the keys to the manipulation. Well, you always said this. You said, I told my ex that I would do something, that I would support her. And that ended up becoming used against me. With my ex, the always and never, that's where my trauma comes from. A big part of my trauma comes from is the always. You always do this. You never do this. You said you would always this.
We're all nerds here. It's fine. We're all nerds here.
Yeah, we are.
But where do you think that, I mean, I know from our Christian background, but there are some people who aren't Christian who still suffer from the same thing. What do you think how do you think it was ingrained in us, even in the non-religious aspect from our home, like that whole forever, every choice that we make is forever. Every choice that we make is permanent.
Permanent.
Because it happens.
Yeah, it does. I don't know. I'm trying to think of, because we know how that happened when it comes to religion, but where does it come from people that didn't grow up in a religious background? Yeah, well, that happens a lot.
I'm here for it. Paragon. I appreciate it. I thought it was great.
Yeah.
Schools. Society.
You think so?
Oh, absolutely. Think about it. They're making middle schoolers choose their colleges, their course path. In high school, they tell you that you not only need to know your college, but you need to know what career you need to have at fucking 15. You need to know as soon as possible. Yeah, like my daughter, like luckily I'm raising my kids that they're like, you don't have to decide your entire life right now. You can decide what you want and you absolutely can change your mind. And we work because C-Riggs and I work very hard because we worked in the educational system, that we understand how the mindset works. And it's like, you don't have to take all of the best, hardest courses to prove that you're a good student and to prove that you're intelligent.
Yes, you're
and
right.
You don't have to take all of these dual credit. You don't have to come out of high school with like a semester's worth of college credits and know where you're going or even what you want to do. My kids can't decide what they want for dinner. Like how should as a parent should I expect my kids to make choices for their entire lives? Like that's not how it works. Like they are going to grow and mature and live life and have experiences and discover things about themselves and what they like and where they actually want to live their lives, and that's their choice. But I'm not going to force them. But that, and even we were the same way. What classes are you going to take? What school are you going to do? Like you have to go to school.
It's presented to them as you're right. It's presented in high school. It's presented as a permanent. This is the most important decision you will make, of like the class that you take and the schools the school that you attend. I taught in middle school during my for one semester, and I was astounded. One of the things that a big part of what I taught in 8th grade was career. So in the 8th grade, they're making you spend a lot of time figuring out what career do you want. And not like, hey, just kind of have an idea of what are you interested in. It was straight up, pick your career. You pretty much had to pick your career. The funny thing is, in high school, the high schools don't do anything to foster that. It's not like you pick a career and then they give you the class.
Oh, not in Texas. In Texas?
Oh, really?
Oh, in Texas? Yeah. If you want so if you want to be in the medical field, you take a CTE track. Or if you want to be in the front, like you and all of your classes, save the core classes, are on that track, and
geared towards that.
Geared towards that. And like, if you want to be like, if you take the educational college tract, you can take the skills tract. Like you are. As of your freshman year, you are in that tract, and you have to start, because in 9th grade you start with it is hard to get out of, and there are kids, and I honestly, that's the one thing. It's a give and take. It's a plus and minus. There are kids that come out of the school systems here, or at least in this area, is that they will come out with certificates. Like these kids, they know that they're like, oh, they're not really academic, but they're really great welders. They do really great basic like skills, and they come out and they go get certified. So they come out of high school knowing they're not going to go to college, and they embrace that.
What
We have
you mean that's okay?
Yeah.
It's okay to not
And they
go-
come out and they come out making they come out having a career.
Mhm.
But it's one of those, like, if you're going into a different, like, and that's a skill. And you know early on, I don't know if I want to go to college. Maybe that's not for me. And that's okay. That's okay to do that. We have a cosmetology, like there's a cosmetology department that will like you come out and you come out certified, and you can go out and you come out certified, and that's great. But then you have those kids who are like, okay, well, I don't know, but I want a computer career. I want a tech career, or I don't know if I want to be a teacher, or maybe I don't know, sort of. And then they stick you in all of these, like, okay, you're going to take all of these and you're not allowed to change your mind. Like, why not?
Oh, it's both a positive and a negative. Yes, it can gear them towards what they want, but then it also locks them into that one decision they made, and doesn't provide a lot of flexibility. So then they feel like they're stuck, and they end up doing something that they don't really want to do anymore. Because at that age, do you really know who you are? Do you really understand? No, you don't understand that into your 20s. You're still figuring that stuff out.
Try my
And so
30s.
to-
Try my 30s. Like,
in North Carolina, they used to do that, and then they stopped, and they actually made it flat. I remember when they said, "Oh, we're no longer doing individual tracks." Every single person is college bound. That was the stance they took. Everyone is going to take the same classes, so everyone can be college bound. And you had a lot of kids who were like, "I'm not going to college. My parents didn't go to college. My grandparents didn't go to college. I don't want to go to college. But you're going to make me get ready for it."
and that's where society has ingrained in us, in that making in choices that are different from what is expected of us, then that also paralyzes us.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
I don't want to make the choice that you're telling me I have to make, but you're telling me that there are going to be dire consequences if I don't choose how you want me to choose. And then that also then sits here, goes, I don't want to make the choice, so I'm going to let somebody else make the choice for me. Because they I guess they know better. I mean, because of whatever, like, and that bleeds
reason,
over into your personal life. Like,
Yep.
This
You start looking for other people to make the decision, or to kind of give you that nudge.
I don't really like this person, but they like me, so sure, why not?
Right? Yeah.
Just because somebody likes you doesn't mean that you have to like them back. Just because somebody is in love with you, or like is attracted to you, or wants to be your friend, doesn't mean that you have to reciprocate those back. But we have been ingrained that there has to be a deep, meaningful reason, some cause, especially, and then tying into the Christian, some big cosmic plan that I am not aware of. So I'm just going to go along with it, instead of actually being critical and going, is this what I really want? And is this good for me? Just because they want it doesn't mean I have to want it.
Mm-hmm. And yeah, you don't have to do what they want to do. You don't have to have them in your life. The ability to, the idea that we can make our own decisions based upon what we want, what is good for us. Yeah, I think that idea was never really communicated, never really taught, that we can make the decision that is best for us. It was not best for us. It was always best for someone else. It was always, that's where I think people pleasing comes from. It was always what's best for someone else, what's best for God, what's best for the church. It's the joy, or it's the, Jesus, others, yourself.
Okay, I'm going to come at you again. You ready?
All right. Hold on. wait. Hold on.
So, in that vein, how do you react when somebody makes a choice that is for themselves that isn't what you expect for them, how do you react to them? Honestly.
Okay, you're asking me. You're asking you directly, not you generally.
Yes. How do you react when somebody is making choices that is best for themselves that you did not anticipate, that you did not expect, and isn't in your plan or your idea of what should be? How do you honestly react to that?
I think I think it varies. Hold on, I think this is a legitimate answer. I think it varies depending upon the anticipation, and it varies upon how initially there's a negative reaction. Initially, it's there's offense. There's a lot of what did I do wrong, or if depending upon what the decision was, it could be what did I do wrong? I must have done something wrong.
It doesn't depend on that.
No.
I have seen name me a time where you have not had where it depended on something, because I have been in the reboot for 6 years now, and I need to know a time where you were just like, okay, and really was okay with the decision that wasn't in your ideals or your plan.
Is it a big decision or a small decision?
It doesn't. That's irrelevant.
Really?
Yeah. It is irrelevant.
It hurts. See, I don't think that is irrelevant. I don't think that that stuff is irrelevant.
Are you trying to intellectualize it, trying to make sure? Because a decision is a decision, whether it's big or small.
Does their decision impact me?
Their decision always impacts somebody else if it involves you.
Okay, so if it directly impacts me.
When have you not had an opinion about somebody making a decision that you didn't like?
So you're just assuming that I didn't like. See, you just assumed that the decision they made was contrary to what I want. That changes what you're asking. Is it a decision that I didn't anticipate, or a decision that I don't like?
Okay, either.
Okay. If it's a decision that I don't like, then I'm not happy about that. I'm agitated. I'm angry.
Why are you
If
angry?
it's a decision that I don't like, because it's like, why are they making that choice? Why are they doing that? I tend to villainize people. So if they make a decision that I don't like, I'm very quick to turn them into a villain. They're doing that to hurt me.
What about a decision you don't understand?
It can be the same way. Because if I don't understand it, if I don't understand something, if I don't understand something, I assume the worst. I overthink and assume the worst. That's something that I'm working on. I'm trying to move to as my therapist said, curiosity, but that's not where I'm at right now. I am still more. I'm more towards the villain. I'm close to the villain side. I will, if I don't understand what it is, and I don't catch myself, my initial reaction is criticizing and villainizing that person, because I don't understand. So that's where I go.
Why?
I think that's. I don't. I think that I'm sure that comes from childhood. I think it comes from growing up in the church, where anyone that disagreed with me was seen as being controlled by Satan or the demons. Every person that disagreed was bad, was evil. It was very adversarial. I grew up. Anyone that believed differently, it was immediate adversary. It wasn't. I wasn't taught to question and to be curious about why are they different? Why do they have that opinion, or that it's okay for them to have that opinion? I learned if they have a contrary opinion, well, they're wrong, and it's your job. It's my job to prove to them that they're wrong. Because it's because their soul is my responsibility. I don't want to be standing in front of God when I pass away. I don't want to stand in front of God and them go, you had that opportunity. You could have witnessed to that person. You could have told that person about. You could have helped change their mind if you had just spoken up. If you had just said something. If you would just argue with them.
Are you ready? I don't think you're ready.
I don't think I am either.
So, you're saying your choices were permanent, but their choices were not, and it was your job to convince them that their choices were wrong and not permanent, and that you needed to change their mind.
Their choices were permanent because their choices were going to keep them from being in heaven, and it was my job to change that.
So that means their choices weren't permanent.
Yes.
But your choices were.
Yeah. That's what I said earlier. Everything that I did had a consequence in heaven.
Yes, it had a consequence in heaven. So everything you did was permanent. Everything you did was permanent, but that person made a choice, but their choice isn't permanent because it didn't follow along with your belief. So it was your job to change their choice.
Yes. It was my job to make it permanent.
It was your job to make it permanent that aligned with your beliefs.
Yes.
So your choices were permanent, but theirs were negotiable.
Mm-hmm. Yes. Because they were wrong, and so it was my job.
So how does that affect the rest of your life? How has that affected the rest of your life?
It's hard to get away from that. It is difficult to accept someone's choice for themselves. That the choice they made is for themselves, and it is what's best for themselves. And that just because I disagree with their choice doesn't make them wrong, and it does not make it my responsibility to change.
So why are you afraid of making choices that somebody will disagree with?
Because then I'm afraid that they will attempt to change my mind, because that's what I did to everyone else.
So you're projecting onto the other people.
Yes.
So it's a perceived judgment.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Yes.
So
when
is permanent.
When trying to figure out what tattoo I should get as a replacement, you know how hard it is not to consider other people's opinions above my own.
No, because I'm not you.
Yeah. It's difficult. It is difficult to not go, well, I wonder what they would think about this. Well, what if they don't? What if this person isn't like this?
I got a fucking potion bottle and an anchor.
You did.
And do you know how many people it's like, oh, anchor and a compass, like, oh, that's so like stereotypical. I'm like, I don't give a shit.
It means something to you. It doesn't matter what it means to anyone else.
Right. Yeah. Why do you want a potion bottle? Because it's motherfucking cool as shit. That's why. Because it's fun. Because I like pretty bottles. Why not? Exactly. The tears of my enemy on my leg. Why not?
Yes, absolutely. Your decision to get something that you want that makes you happy doesn't require anyone else's input. That's difficult for me.
Yeah, I was about to say. Say that again to yourself. Are you gonna say that again?
Absolutely. This just so happened to be a topic of conversation in my last therapy session. Yeah.
Who knew?
The idea. Yeah, exactly. Doing something for myself, and because I want to do it, and only because I want to do it, is difficult for me to make a decision about.
Why?
Without considering. Because I care what other people think. Because I feel like what other people think, I base my self-worth on other people's perception of me. Golden child.
And you think that decision is going to change their opinion of you forever?
Yes, which would be a permanent thing. Full circle.
So tell me, how do you hate always, never, and forever, and yet you live your life that way? How is it that you hate the word always, never, and forever, yet you use those, and that's how you live your life? That is like literally how you live your life.
I do. You've caught me on that a few times. I will use it with myself often.
Often? Yeah, often. 99.9%. It's not all the time, but it's that 0.01% that keeps you from doing always.
I'm working on the phrasing. I often feel this way.
It doesn't kill 100%. It's not 100%. It's 99.99%.
It's like germs. Yeah,
it's
like
fine.
Cleaner.
It's fine.
It's that 0.01% that'll get you.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So, nothing is forever. Nothing is forever. And I think it's one of those, it's okay to sit in the fact, and that's really, really, really difficult for me, is to sit in the fact that, especially with my abandonment wounds and my traumas and all of that, is and my mindset, my belief system, is that I am always going to be there for that person. I'm always going to be in this job. This job is like, and if I'm not, I don't have friends that I have had since high school. Like my sister has those friends that have been friends since they were like in 3rd grade. I don't know what that's like. That's not a thing for me. And it's like, I would always feel bad because it's like, well, is there something wrong with me? Or is it just, am I not trying hard enough? Like my relationships, my marriage, my friendships, like it feels like a rotating door. And I feel like, oh, does that make me unstable because they're not permanent, because they haven't been multiple years and they don't know me inside and out? No. It's just me knowing, it's just me just being like, okay, well, it just happens. I don't know what my high school friends are up to. I don't know either. If it wasn't for Facebook or social media, I would have no fucking clue. And you know what? I don't even.
Do you really care? That was
no.
No.
But we are growing apart. Yeah. Like I don't.
Yeah. And that's one thing that I don't think we understood when we were young, is that it is okay for these relationships, these friendships, to drift apart. The whole we're best friends forever. BFFs, right? And that you have to hold on and maintain that BFF. You have to just squeeze it, hold tight, when it's completely natural to, especially if you're in high school and then you go to different colleges, it's okay to drift apart. It's okay to not speak to each other for a long period of time. That also doesn't mean that you can't come back together and have fun together. Mm-hmm. It just means that your relationship changes over time. Whether it's a friendship or a romantic relationship.
And that's awesome. And we're not saying that that's a bad thing. We're not like, my sister has that. Like, there are people out there who have that. And I am like, yay. I don't know what that's like. I don't know what that's like.
For people that don't have that, for people that don't have those relationships, like you're saying, you look at your sister and go, is there something wrong with me because I don't have what she has? Mm-hmm. Or that I don't have what I perceive that she has.
They're friends. And I think that there's something about that. And I think it says a lot about, was I friends with those people because I was genuine with those people? Or was I friends with those people because I had this desperate need to be liked? Did they really know me? Were they really my friend? Did I allow them to be that way? Because, we have to think, with borderlines, they often, more times than not, will adjust who they are Like literally what they like, what they wear, what they dress like, their activities, their free time, everything. They will adjust everything because they have this massive terror of being abandoned. It's not just a fear of abandonment. It is a visceral terror of being abandoned. So they will change everything. So did that person really know me? Was I really being genuine and honest, or was it just me? They liked who I was pretending to be.
Ooh, that's a good question.
And I feel like that people who are friends for decades and whatnot, they actually had the genuine friendship of, I know this person, they are genuine with me and I'm genuine with them. And they built upon a foundation of honesty and they grew together.
Does it say something about people who don't though? Is there something wrong with people who don't have those close relationships from childhood?
I don't think it says anything. I just think it says that if everybody approached relationships the same way, then the world would be pretty monotonous. We wouldn't have things like anxious attachment, avoidant attachment. We wouldn't have, but that's not the case. Everyone is different. Even if in the same household, like me and my sister, we grew up in the same household, but our childhoods were very, very different. So I don't think it says anything other than my experiences and my approach to relationships is different than my sister's. I don't think it says that I'm a bad person or that she's a better person than me. I don't think that means that I can't maintain friends and that I'm unlovable or unlikable, that because friends go in and out of my life. I don't think that it says anything. It just says that I can accept and I can be discerning. And I just think it says that I have different coping mechanism and I'm different, and that's okay. I think it's the comparing ourselves of like, I have to have the forever friend that I've had since I was in second grade, and I have to marry my high school sweetheart, and I'm like, we're gonna be together forever. And yeah, we might, and think about, you date the person from high school, you go to college, you experience college together, and you have the people that break up. It's like, it's a common trope. Like you go to high school, you date, you go to college, you break up, but then you come home for a summer vacation or whatever. And then you realize that you should have been together. And so when you break up, you don't sit there because you think, no, we're forever. And then there's also the times, how many times you break up and you just hold on to the hope that, oh, well, we're just taking a break because we're changing, then we're going to get back together. And you have that idea, but that other person does not. And how long do you carry that on? Like,
and how many things in your life? How many things do you not do? How many things do you not do, or how many choices do you make based upon that idea? Based upon what the other person, what the relationship is, that time that you're learning about yourselves, yet you're making a lot of choices based upon what the other person's going to respond or how it's going to affect the other person.
How long do you prolong? And I am saying this because I am notorious for this. Because I'm a people pleaser and I have abandonment issues. That you hold on to the hope that the choice to not be in each other's lives is only temporary. That you don't just accept that this is where you are, but you are sitting on the hope that if I just hold on, because we said forever, because we said always, because we said that we would be in each other's life, that they would be my best friend forever. And I know that they hurt me or I hurt them, but they're going to eventually see that we are supposed to be in each other's lives forever. And you just hold on to that hope instead of actually dealing with it and accepting that maybe this isn't forever, that maybe us not being in each other's life isn't forever, or maybe not being in each other's life is where the natural progression of the relationship is supposed to go. And you hold on to that pain and that hurt, and And instead, it's like we said forever. Forever's not a promise. So many people say that in their wedding vows. I will love you forever. I will love you forever. I will love you in the good times and in the bad. Okay, yeah. But sometimes the bad is pretty bad. And and it's not forever.
And and just because you love them doesn't mean you have to stay in. It doesn't mean that the dynamic of the relationship doesn't change. You can still love them outside of the romantic relationship. You can still love them from a distance. You can still love them and not spend a lot of time or invest in that relationship anymore, because it may not be a healthy relationship in your life where you're at.
How? Okay. I'm curious.
Yeah.
How has thinking that things are supposed to be permanent affected your life? Like your marriage or friendships? With the belief system that this person or this, maybe your job. I know your job is like one of those things.
Yeah,
like
marriage and jobs are probably the biggest effect. Because honestly, friendships not maybe not so much, because I often rotated. Like I kind of had different friends throughout college. Not really in high school. I didn't have a lot of friends in high school, but and through college, I kind of had a lot
what?
of friends.
You having that holy Christian, like, exclusive, let everybody, keep everybody out didn't make you any friends? What? Stop it.
Being hypercritical and hyper judgmental of everyone else.
I know. You mean, people didn't enjoy you judging them every single word that came out of your mouth? Stop it.
I know. I don't understand it either. One day, maybe eventually, I'll figure that out. But thinking the relationships, that was a big one. Thinking that, especially like dating for marriage, I thought, well, we've gone this far. We're supposed to get married. I'm supposed to be with this person for a long time. There was a lot of permanence around relationships. And job. I'm one of those people that finds a job and then I just kind of like, all right, I've got this job and I'm going to stick with it, stick through it, and it's just, I've got the job. It's kind of like, there's permanence to it. But there's also, I think, some complacency to it. I want this job to be forever because I don't want to have to go dealing with looking for another one. So I just, it's a permanent job. The idea of it not being permanent is anxiety inducing, and so I avoid that.
Have you ever just dated to date, not to date to be in a relationship?
No.
Why not?
I don't think I've ever dated without the idea of this being a long-term, like the idea of just dating, going out on dates. I don't think I've ever done.
Why?
I think there's a feeling of obligation. If I don't have, if I was gonna break up with someone, if I'm gonna break up with someone, I gotta have like a really strong, like almost like I'm in a courtroom. I've got to have a very valid, strong explanation of why. I can't just go, you know what? I just don't feel like this is working out. This is just not what I want. Like
Why?
that? No, you can't do that. You can't do that.
Why?
I don't know. This is the difficulty with boundaries. I'm easily when I try to put the thing forth, I'm really easy. I have a difficulty maintaining that. So this came up in therapy. The idea, the sunk cost. I often extend the sunk cost fallacy to the other person. They've invested so much time, so much effort. And this permeates a lot more than just like friendships. This permeates business relationships, working. This goes into buying a car. The other person has spent, exact. I know it seems crazy to you because it doesn't. You have this is you don't think like this. Buying a car is difficult for me because they've spent all this time and all this effort to try to sell me this car. I feel an obligation. Unless I can quantify the reason, no. I feel an obligation to buy that vehicle. With my tattoo. If my tattoo artist, whoever that's going to be, says, "Hey, here's this design." If I go, if I'm thinking I'm not really like this, I don't feel like this is the perfect the design that I want. If I can't quantify that, I feel an obligation to get it anyway. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So how has that positively and negatively affected your life?
Because it's caused me to do things. It's led to me doing things that I didn't want to do, to get things that I didn't want to get, to be in relationships longer than I wanted to be in relationships, friendships, romantic relationships.
Do you think that it has stopped you from actually experiencing the full spectrum of what a relationship could be like?
Mm-hmm. Because I end up with a sense of obligation, as opposed to, instead of being here because I want to be here, like the idea of being in a relationship because I want to be in that relationship, because my emotions, because most of the time I'm in I get to a point in a relationship where I feel like I'm only here because of obligation, because of sunk cost, because, well, I don't really have a good reason to not be. And I think that's part of what keeps me from just dating, is that idea of feeling obligated to the other person, obligated to the situation. So no, that I don't think I've ever.
Do you want to?
I think. Do I want to? Do I want to date without feeling obligated?
Do you want to date just to experiencing dating? And how is that like? How like? I think the thing is that with the forever fallacy, like this is forever, and in that approach, because I know I've experienced that a ton, is that it keeps us from being very discerning about whether this person is right for us. I think it keeps us, because we have made this choice, and this choice is permanent, and this choice is we got to ride this choice out until it is absolutely dead in the ground, and there's no other way we can make it, that there's no other way we can choose to continue with this decision, because it is harmful for us. But then it's like, we're going to ride this out, even though we're not feeling it, or it's not working, or this friend isn't good for me, or this job, I'm not really happy in this job, but we're going to ride it out because we don't have a good reason. Because we made this choice, and this choice is permanent, and we got to. How many times did your parents tell you growing up that, you're going to sign up for baseball, you're going to sign up for this, and you have to finish it out. There is no, you have to, I don't care if you're unhappy, I don't care if you're bad at it, I don't care, you're going to do it because you're not a quitter.
Yeah. Ooh, you're not a quitter. Yes.
You don't get to quit. You don't get to change your mind. How many times have our parents told us that? I don't know about anybody else in our community, but I know my parents told me that all the time. You made this choice, so you're going to see it out because you're not a quitter.
Yes. Yep. Mm-hmm.
Instead of saying, okay, you made this choice. Why do you not now? If you have and they never listened to us. So we ingrained in ourselves the belief that we made this choice and we're not quitters, and we have to see it through to the very end. Like I took this person out on one date and they have a crush on me. So now I've got to see this thing out to see where it goes.
Yes. Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
Oh, Pep's uncomfortable now because he can't.
Yeah, I think I've fallen into that. There was no conversation about. There was no exploring why. There was all right. So you don't want to do this. You don't want to do this anymore. Why? Why don't you want to? There was no. I don't ever remember a conversation. you don't want to play the sport anymore. Okay, so let's talk about it. What are you feeling right now? Like, there's a reason. If I don't want to do something anymore, there's a reason I don't want to do it anymore. But instead of exploring that, it was usually, no, you can't. You can't make that choice. You can't decide. You're gonna finish it out whether you want to or not.
But it's not even just exploring the why you don't want to do it. It's not. It's the whole like I don't want to do it anymore, and them going, okay, and just accepting that you don't want to do it anymore, accepting your choice. You don't, and I think that there's some type of trauma that comes with, oh, well, why don't you want to? And then because then you have that feeling of need of I want to make a different choice, and now I have to have like a litany of reasons about why I don't have to, when really in any healthy relationship, be it friendships or parental or whatever, I don't want to do this anymore. Okay. Well, then you don't have to do it anymore. And just that acceptance of just your decisions without arguing, without having a reason, without having to defend yourself, without having to see it through because you know, making it permanent, just the acceptance of, I don't want to. Just like no is a full sentence. I don't want to is one either. Just because, why? I just don't want to.
No is a full sentence is something I've had to learn. That's it's been difficult.
Because I don't want to is also a full sentence. I don't need to explain myself. I don't need to explain myself to you or to anyone else.
Yeah. I feel a need to explain myself.
I changed my mind. Well, that puts me out. Well, I'm sorry. It puts you out. I've changed my mind. I feel differently now. I don't have to explain myself to you. I don't owe anybody an explanation. And that's difficult because we feel like our decisions are permanent, that if we even entertain the thought of changing our minds, that we have to explain everything.
Yeah. Demonstrable, quantitative.
But I think the thing is like we ask ourselves, what's the worst that can happen? What's the worst that can happen? And instead of thinking, okay, if that's the worst that can happen, I can probably handle that. Instead, we think, oh, that's the worst thing that can happen and I'm going to avoid it at all costs.
Yeah.
What's the worst that can happen? This happens? Okay, well, then I'll deal with it when it happens. But instead, we try to avoid the worst thing that can happen.
Yes.
Instead of just accepting that that's the worst thing that could happen. And it might not ever happen.
That's a good point. That the thing that the thing that I'm worried about, the worst that could happen, may never happen. And there's a good chance it won't happen. It's just where my mind goes, and I put weight behind it. That voice, that part of me that goes, "Oh my God, what if this happens?" gets a seat at the table, gets a lot bigger voice than the other parts of me.
Okay, and one more question before we go, because we're running a little bit over.
Oh yeah, we are. Yeah.
Do you put all of your decisions on the same plane? Meaning you put as much emotional and mental pressure on yourself for insignificant, like seemingly inconsequential decisions and choices as much as the major choices in your life?
I would say yes. Yeah, I would say I probably do. I would say a lot of choices are on the same level when they shouldn't be. When they don't, when I think I give a lot of weight to mental and emotional weight to a lot of the same choices.
Why?
I think because there's anxiety behind them. Because I think because I look at worst that can happen, and I'm not sure why.
That's an answer. And that's an
But I
answer.
feel like I do.
But you don't know why. And that's okay.
Yeah, I don't think I know why.
And now you are aware. And now you can now there's another door you can explore.
I got a topic for my next session.
But in conclusion, the forever fallacy, that every choice that you make, every path that you choose, everything that you have decided and everything is forever. And you're not going to be able to get past it. You're not going to be able to live it down. You're not going to be able to do any of those things. That it is going to be with you forever. This person that you're choosing to be with is forever. This friendships are forever. That's not true. It's not true. And I think that on top of that, knowing that nothing is forever should take the pressure off of choices and decisions, and should also make you grateful for the people that are in your life. I think that if knowing that this person might not be in your life forever, even though you want them to be there for the rest of your life, there's a possibility that they won't be. And so, like you said earlier, to not take them for granted. And to understand that if you're in a bad situation or a bad friendship, that it doesn't have to be forever and you're allowed to get out. You are not stuck. And I think using that philosophy of, well, that things aren't permanent. Well, yeah, things aren't permanent. And that's a good thing. I think that we spend so much time thinking if things aren't permanent, that makes them bad. That doesn't make them bad. It does take the anxiety and the pressure off decision making. Now, am I saying that you shouldn't make your decisions and take the weight, like major life choices? You shouldn't stop and take stock and understand that those are important decisions? Yes. Important decisions are still important. They still do affect you in major ways. And it will affect you and change you. But that doesn't mean that you can't, if it hurts you, if that choice hurts you, that doesn't mean that you can't heal from it. It may change you, but you can heal from it. If you make a bad choice, then you learn your lesson. Then you learn, you get wiser. Because you learn more in the mistakes than you learn in the right decisions. And then you appreciate the people in your life.
Yeah.
And good things can come out of that, understanding that things aren't forever.
I like that. Choices are only become permanent when we actively choose to make them permanent. They are not permanent on their own. We made a choice. You make a choice. You can make another choice.
But that doesn't mean it's permanent, though.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. They're not permanent. What I'm saying is, if you make a choice to do something, you can always choose to do it differently.
Mm-hmm.
It doesn't make the choice isn't permanent. I think that's really, because I think that's been a big approach to our lives, or to my life, is the idea that once I've made a choice, it's done.
Mm-hmm.
And that's not the case.
Nothing is permanent, and it's okay. And those people that are friends since second grade, they choose to be friends every single day. They choose to accept that their friendships evolve and change, and they choose that. It's a choice.
Yeah.
Which means that every decision you make is not permanent. It just means you choose to make the same choice every day.
Mm-hmm.
Yay! All right, with that, now that I've had completely traumatized Pep today, congratulations, folks. I have completely did that. See, this is what happens when he lets me choose and he doesn't make, have input on the topic.
I didn't realize that was a choice here. I didn't realize that was the situation.
Yeah.
I was like, all right, cool, we can do this.
Uh-huh. Here we are. So thank you for joining us. I know this one was a long one, but thank you for joining us today on Waking Up. Pep's going to go lick his wounds a little bit. He's going to go rock in the corner and self-soothe.
Yes,
So yeah, and we will. Do you have anything to say, Sean? I just sort of just hijacked.
No, you're good. I don't think there's really much to say after the fantastic close that you gave. No, I'm serious. I think you did well.
Oh, thanks. And with that, we guys hope you have a great day, and we will catch you guys later. Bye.
Bye.
Maybe if I can never find the end scene.
Hit the button. Find the.